When the show was canceled, Brandy went on to do her music.
She was determined that recording was going to be her first venture for success.
Brandy was glad she was free. She was free to pursue what she knew she could excel in, and that was singing.
Look, it's all or nothing, baby.
No producers was interested in Brandy. Aaliyah had just come out, and she was the new thing, and everybody thought one young female and that's it. There's not going to be room for any more. Fortunately, Keith Crouch came along at the right time.
Daryl Williams called me and said, I really want you to meet this girl. I think she's a star, she's hot, she can sing. And I wasn't like completely knocked out right away. And Daryl asked me, just give it a shot. I Want to Be Down was the first song that Brandy and I worked on.
Brandy hated the song, was so mad at me because I really pushed for her to sing it.
We spent maybe 2 days in the studio really perfecting it.
She would come and tell me how she had to work so hard to get the notes right.
Her dad would be in the control room with me as a vocal coach.
When we would get stuck, for some reason, he just gets things out of her that nobody else can.
Sonia really stepped up to develop the overall, promotion and marketing.
She picked wardrobe, picked hairstyling, picked photographers. It was really her vision in the beginning how Brandy's going to look.
I just knew she was not going to be wearing things that were too old for her. No one was going to tell me any different.
There was some times when I think Brandy didn't think that her mom was making a right decision.
Her mother was just very firm in terms of not trying to make her into a sex symbol.
Well, when we delivered the album, I remember getting phone calls and letters from the executives there saying, it's good, it's not very much to it, but they thought she was cute enough and they were going to put it out and see what happened.
What's that all about?
I Want to Be Down came out and the reaction was phenomenal.
I was driving home and I turned on the radio and it was like, oh my God, we got this new girl from Carson. They didn't even have to say Brandy. I already knew. It's Brandy, it's Brandy.
She was the class joke at Hollywood High. And for her to have a single out, it was kind of like, wow, she did it.
I remember Boyz II Men calling us and saying, listen, we're number one. You're never going to take our place. And then we got the charts next week. We had kicked Boyz II Men out of number one.
She said, Daddy, can you believe it? I'm number one.
I thought, if you got a number one song, you should be on MTV. The first video was that I Want to Be Down. Yeah.
She was just like on the telephone, talking to her friends. And just the regular down-the-way Mississippi girl.
I think the biggest obstacle for Brandy was just setting herself aside from everyone else that was out there.
Yo, what's up? This is MTV Jams and I'm Bill Bellamy. The first time I met her was on my show, MTV Jams.
Feels really good.
So is it really hard for you,
Oh, yeah, it's really hard. I'm kind of tired, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
You did all right. I interviewed her and then she co-hosted with me and she was good.
Let me put some boom in it.
Yeah, boy. It was just awesome to see a new artist come to life. A young girl whose future was right before her and who had the goods to deliver. With success, there comes a lot of expectations, If your first album goes 5 million, wow, the heat is on you.
Everything is going great. She's in all the magazines, she's on radio, she's on television, she's everywhere.
When she was nominated for the Best New Artist, I was amazed. It was a good feeling for all of us just to see that she was in that arena now.
Nominees for Best New Artist are Brandy.
I really think she deserved it because she was the Best New Artist.
And the Best New Artist is the Hootster and the Blowfish.
What's best to some is not necessarily best to others. You can't be a sore loser.
When Brandy first told me she was going on tour with Boyz II Men, she couldn't believe it.
We're like, oh, it's happening, Boys to Men brand.
Boys to Men was outrageously huge at that time.
The first time she went out there, she was just shaking all over. It was kind of overwhelming.
This is a 15-year-old girl. She doesn't have a driver's license, but she's in front of 15,000 people every night, killing it.
It's like, okay, hi, you know, I'm the new kid on the block.
Here we go, here we go, here we go now.
She was on tour when I first called up to get Brandy to do Moesha.
Ralph called me and said, we just got this script and we thought Brandy would be good for it.
Moesha was just simply a half-hour situation comedy told through the eyes of a 16-year-old African-American girl.
We read the script and we thought that Brandy would be right for it.
Brandy looked at the role and said, this is me. And then Brandy went to meet with the network.
She sat down at the head of the table and said, I understand you want to talk to me? And she proceeded to chair that meeting, if you will.
Do you know somebody named? You know the name.
They were just totally taken with it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I know his name.
And that sealed the deal.
What about?
After we sold Brandy, I thought, well, look, Brandy, come in and read. Why don't you read with me, just see where you are right now. She was so horrible. She was so bad. If the network had seen that reading, they would have pulled the plug. I'm literally crying. I sold a bag of smoke to the network. I'm dead. So I called up Kim Fields.
He said, listen, we're doing a series with Brandy. We'd like for you to coach her in, a few areas. I said, yeah. It was a way for me to, be able to pull another sister along.
Kim Fields wound up going out on the road with Brandy and working with her while she was on tour.
Being on tour in and of itself is just, strange. It's because you're living out of suitcases, you're living out of a bus, you're in a different city every day and night, and going through that while you're growing up. It's very surreal.
It's not your typical normal lifestyle that a child would become involved in at that age.
A lot of people who depended on Brandy, and so she had a heavy responsibility.
On her breaks, she comes to my hotel room. What's that? Or I go to her room and we work on, Moesha for a minute, and now I got to go and do chemistry, and now I got to go and sing for, however many tons of people.
What are you doing?
A lot of times she was doing 50 things. Like she'd go from dead sleep with a sausage McMuffin and an orange juice, and she'd be straight on.
Brandy complained a few times, and she would say, I need a break.
I knew Brandy was under a lot of pressure, but I didn't know it was to the degree that it was.
I kept my daughter focused and motivated through pain.
She started to realize, if she really wanted to do this, that there were certain sacrifices that she had to make.
She was committed, and there was no room for doubt. There was no turning back.
Move to the, E to the.
When I was working with Brandy to prep Moesha, I felt that she was excited about acting, but I think more excited about the prospect of this being her show.
Move to the.
This was the first time that she could take what she learned from Thea, Hollywood High, and all of the places where she had been given negative comments about herself to show that her set could be different.
Now, Brandy was the lead, and so that changes the whole game, right?
I got my own show now. I can sing and do whatever I want to.
Moesha.
She wasn't as experienced in the beginning, and sometimes she would get frustrated.
Hi, Mo. You came back early.
You okay?
Yeah. No. There are some real tripped out people out there, man.
She just felt like, it's Moesha, I'm Moesha, so I have to be so perfect.
This tremendous pressure put on a teenager.
Brandy as Moesha, it really kind of coincided with Brandy's life.
Bye, Daddy.
I got one word for you, Mo. Curfew.
When you're acting, you have to really deal with a lot of personal issues.
One day you're like, wow, look at me, and the next day you're like, oh, am I fat? Do I have acne?
She always say, my eyes are too wide apart.
When you're in that spotlight, everything's just